thanks for joining in. Meantime, you can just watch AV from our sponsors of this Tool Talk. Thank you. Thank you so much and good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all for this edition of Tool Talk powered by S&T Machinery India Private Limited, one of the well-known company in Indian CNC machining industry. Whenever we talk about the manufacturing industry, we always find ourselves little behind China in almost every, industry or segment we talk. But there is one industry where, India is not just world leader, way ahead of China as well, which is the two-wheeler segment. Two-wheeler industry has been the pillar of Indian automotive industry since long time, and in last financial year, the two-wheeler industry grew by like almost 13% to almost 18.4 to 18.5 million units. That's huge number, and I'm sure it is a great opportunity for the tool makers as well. So in this session, we are going to discuss cutting-edge trends driving the two-wheeler segment, the impact of EV in on tool making, on tool makers and the component suppliers, and how these advancements are going to impact the overall manufacturing. And to discuss all these things, we have Mr. Santosh Kulkarni, who is Vice President of Bajaj Auto. Welcome, Mr. Kulkarni. I welcome you from the tooling fraternity and the management of Tagma. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And
thanks for having me on this show.
Thank you. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Mr. Shanmuga Sundaram, Vice President of Tagma, to introduce Mr. Santosh formally.
Good evening to one and all. Few information about Santosh Kulkarni. Santosh Kulkarni, the Vice President of Materials, Polymer and Elastomer at Bajaj Auto Limited, a graduate in Polymer Engineering from Pune University. He embarked on his career in mold design and manufacturing, excelling in mold flow simulation. As his journey progressed, Mr. Kulkarni ventured into new product development, showcasing his versatility and adaptability. Currently, he holds a key leadership position, spearheading the polymer and elastomer vertical at Bajaj Auto Limited. In his capacity, he oversees various crucial aspects of the company's operation, including new production introduction, serial production purchase, and vendor quality management, with key emphasis on localization and formation of a self-sufficient Bajaj Auto vendor cluster, which is agile and competent. Mr. Kulkarni's dedication to driving innovation and maintaining the highest standards of quality has been pivotal in achieving success in the endeavors at Bajaj Auto Limited. As Vice President Materials, Polymer and Elastomer, Mr. Santosh Kulkarni remains committed to furthering the growth and success of Bajaj Auto, leaving a significant impact on the company's achievements and continued progress. We are glad on behalf of Tagma EC community and president. We welcome Santosh Kulkarni, and thank you so much for having with us, taking the time. And it's very nice to have a chat with you, sir.
Yeah,
It's with you. Over
it's
to you.
yeah, it's my pleasure to be on this show with you all. I've been kind of participating in the Tagma activities since 2017-18, and it always gives me a pleasure to be with this team because finally my heart is tool making. So I'm a toolmaker at heart. So I always belong to this fraternity. So thanks for having
Fantastic.
me on the show.
Yeah, fantastic. Let us hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just to set the tone of the session, I would like to know more from you about the emerging trends in the global two-wheeler segment, global and Indian as well. And I'm sure since India is the largest two-wheeler manufacturing country, I'm sure we are a trendsetter as well. So would you like to highlight some of the trends that you see going forward we'll witness in the two-wheeler segment?
Yeah, sure. I mean, India has been the front runner in terms of global two-wheeler manufacturers. And way back, in I think in the mid 2000s, when the market really started growing for motorcycles,
Right.
our company had a vision that say we hold a 20% market share or 30% market share in the Indian market. So we had set a tone for ourselves to have a similar kind of a footprint, in the world market. So that is where the aspirations started for our organizations to become a pan world organization for the two-wheeler leadership. And I'm very happy to share with everybody that we export to more than 70 countries. Our products reach 70 countries or more than 70 countries, and we had one of the largest exporters of motorcycles in India and holding a leadership position. Now, having said that, what does it mean for for the tool makers, or what does it mean in overall as a company? When you are reaching different geographies like Brazil or Indonesia or United States or Australia, just to name a few, you are competing with the best of the global players. So be it Triumph in certain geographies, it could be Honda International, their large size motorcycles, Kawasaki's of the world. So we are kind of competing with these people where their the product quality is something which is of a very high caliber. When we say product quality, the first thing that is seen on a product is the visual or the aesthetic product quality, and
Right.
that is where the main focus uh, always will remain. Uh, so you are asking about the trends. So the
Yeah.
trends, if you really want to see, more and more products are reaching globally, not only for us, but a lot of other players who are our competition or our peers are also participating in the world market. And
Okay.
new players like if you see Ola and all of these people coming in, there's a lot of emphasis on newer trends. It could be related to optical quality. It could be related to fit and finish. It could be related to certain new very path-breaking concepts. Like one of our peers had introduced vehicle with transparent parts.
Okay.
So these are certain things where it really pushes the boundaries of what can be achieved by a part, and the start point for that is what a tool can deliver. So in one way, the dreams of all the designers or the dreams of all the engineering teams is always delivered by what is seen on the product, and what is seen on the product is what a tool can manufacture. So
Right.
so coming back to this point, uh, if you look at the most critical aspects, or if you look at the most emerging trends, one is that the time to reach market is a very
Mhm.
very critical phenomena, and everybody has to improve their capability to become agile, and to see that what is the shortest path that is available to make a product and put it into the market. So tool making is essentially a part of that entire value chain. So that
Right.
is one trend that you'll see everywhere, be it four-wheeler. If you recollect the conversation that we had last year in the ITS, that time also there was a lot of emphasis on time to reach the market and how the time period can be crunched so that we can deliver more products to the market. That's first. Second
Right.
is, as I told you, the optical quality trends are extremely important. So be it zero parting line parts, be it parts which have the best possible cycle time, least
Mhm.
possible zero rejection. If instead of the using word uh, least possible, it is zero rejection. And
Okay.
so these are the qualities which are required in order to serve the market. So I think the trends, if you see recently, there'll be great emphasis on optical quality. There's a great emphasis on time to reach and the capability in terms of what the tool can deliver. So this is what I feel. There's a huge trend in this area.
Okay, so you spoke about various trends shaping up the two-wheeler industries, be it delivery and the time to market has shrinked, and then parting line and many things. So, what role toolmaker has to play if you, as a OEM, two-wheeler OEM, has to keep up your pace with the trend? Then, what role toolmaker has to play, and what they need to do to maintain the pace according to OEMs or companies like yours?
Yeah, if we had touched upon this topic earlier as well, and I would be very happy to, slightly elaborate on this point. Um, the tool maker is no longer only a tool room where he will make the mold or the die exactly as per the CAD model which is given to him. It is no longer that era where the tool that I've made, you can inspect it as exactly as per your CAD geometry, and that's it. It is no
Right.
longer that. It is something which is much beyond that. So what much beyond that, they have to participate. The expectation is that the participation starts much before the part is actually formally released for manufacturing. So through various principles of design for manufacturing, principles of product design, aspects of cross-checking the part geometry with respect to defect prevention. So these are all the pre-tool manufacturing expertise area, and the tool makers also have to kind of build a strength in this particular area. So what it does is that whatever you've done before the tool manufacturing has begun will help in making the tool not only faster, but a defect-free component from that particular tool. So the participation of a tool maker, the capability of a tool maker to anticipate defects, to predict defects, and to have a very robust guideline which will help them to make the tool with the design robustness. So that
Right.
is where the participation of toolmaker becomes very important. Post that, the expectation is that uh, we were all used to a particular methodology where there will be a T1 and there will be a T2 and there will be corrections which will keep on happening, and there will be multiple trials. So what that does is that essentially, even if the tool is ready, it is not production worthy as yet. So this is an area where there is a lot of work which has happened, and still there is a scope for improvement in this area, where the target should be that for a T0 or a T1, which is used in the Fraternity, the pist should be 95%, and it should be ready to go for the next process. It could be hardening, it could be texturizing, it could be any process.
Right.
Yeah, so from that point of view, the capability as a solution provider in
Mhm.
terms of participation for design, for robust manufacturing, and the shortest possible time for avoiding trials and corrections later on. So this is where I think the tool industry has to rally up and focus on these areas.
Okay. Okay. Great. So we'll touch on these things later as well. At the moment, can you tell me what percent of your overall tooling requirements at Bajaj is met by the domestic tool makers?
100%.
100%.
Yeah. So we
So
stopped.
it's like your Hamara Bajaj has Hamara tools from India, all the tools.
Absolutely. We stopped importing tools many years back. I think in early 2000s is what we stopped importing any
Okay.
tools.
Okay.
As
Okay.
far as the body claddings or rest of the parts are concerned. There was a very minor percentage of tools that we used to import for lighting as well as for the mirror assemblies.
Okay.
And I take a lot of pride in saying that we have localized almost the entire the tooling expertise which is required to deliver tools which are at par with global standards. So I have just imported one tool in last 15 years, and that too because we wanted to benchmark our practices versus global player practices. So
That's great.
otherwise
I'm sure
we have
tool makers must be happy listening this. So can you
yeah.
tell me, because I'm sure earlier you are importing and there are still many companies who are importing tools from India. Your journey from, reducing the tool import to practically making it zero. Can you just share the journey? Like how did you handhold? You must have done a lot of hand holding also with tool makers and, some sort of knowledge sharing and all. Would you like to just share that journey of reducing it to making it the entirely zero, you know?
Oh, sure. I'm more than happy to share this because you know we have driven a very unique concept of a cluster. In
Mhm.
my introduction, there was an emphasis which was put on clusters. So,
Okay.
what is that cluster? So what we do is we have certain set of manufacturers, and they have different capabilities. Somebody is strong in design, somebody is strong in manufacturing, somebody is strong, in certain activities. So we try to get them all together
Mm-hmm.
in what we call as a cluster. And then these cluster, we have spent enough time, energy with them in order to make them understand that uh, the only way to survive and to improve is when we cross share and cross learn.
Okay.
So we have gone out of our way to assure them about their businesses, and because that's one of the very big challenges that everybody has, that if I share my knowledge with somebody, is my business going to be taken away by by the other competent manufacturer. So that is one area that we have participated. We have rallied all of them together to ensure
Wow.
that if my requirement is say 500 tools a year or 1000 tools a year, uh, uh, unfortunately, nobody in India today has that kind of a capacity under one roof. But
Right.
collectively, definitely that kind of a capacity is available. So we have assured them of their businesses. We have assured them that uh, uh, the amount of work that they can digest or they can accept will be provided, because our requirement is very huge. And because of that, then we've got them together. We've had guidelines prepared. We've had visits from one manufacturer to the other manufacturer to understand what are the best practices, compile the best practices, and then they get implemented in in all of these areas. So that's one very important aspect. Second important aspect that we focused big time on was defect prevention. And when we say a global word which is defect prevention, it actually encompasses a lot of things. It
Right.
it starts from simulation. What are the simulation tools which are required? What are the results which one has to look at? What are the standards that one needs to set for saying whether the result is okay or not okay? Finalizing
Right.
those norms. Then secondly, there are multiple plastic materials which are used, and similarly multiple non-plastic materials which are used. And for each one of them, there are different methods in which one manufactures the tool. So a part which is manufactured for polypropylene or for die casting, or for, they have their own nitty-gritties in, there a lot of fine tuning happens in that. So that's the
Right.
second aspect. And the third aspect of it is there are a lot of soft learnings with every part family, So once somebody is doing a, aluminum crankcase. So what exactly it takes uh, to make a tool which is defect free and the life is the best that it can give, right? So there are a lot of soft learnings which happen. So
Right.
these are the things that we have tried to collect together, make some guidelines on top of that, and then it did some DOEs, that one project with this a certain given set of guidelines. And then we have fine-tuned those over years, last 15, 20 years, we've spent a long time to master these, acts. So for us, then it becomes kind of a commodity. So we have a development manual. So tomorrow, for a motorcycle, a front fender is released. So which steel is to be used, what kind of a hot run system is to be used, and all this is standardized. And then,
Okay.
so if A tool maker manufactures or a B tool manufacturer, it doesn't make a difference because the set of guidelines will remain same. So this is, the journey that we have undertaken, which has enabled us to go from, a very crude localizing setup to, a truly mature and a truly, satisfying set of tool manufacturing.
That's nice. So, as you said that the kind of requirement you have in terms of number of tools, there's not a single company that can cater to that, but collectively the Indian companies are catering to your demand. So I'm sure you must be working with a lot of tool makers. So my next question was that at Bajaj, what specific factors are considered when sourcing tools or dies for your requirement? As in, what kind of evolution factors you have before finalizing a tool room? You must be having some sort of checklist before you start working with any particular vendor or tool groups.
Yes, so the question is very simple to answer, and I can go to length to explain what I meant to say, but we'll keep it short for the for the people to
Yeah.
understand in totality. So first of all, one of the principles that we have adopted over many years is there are three aspects. What we call as QCD, that is quality, cost, and delivery. These are the three basic pillars of uh,
Yes, that's बोल दर्शन
uh,
बोल
for for what the person or a tool room
थैंक
can,
यू तुमको
or
पूछो क्या
any
जो भी
part manufacturer has to excel upon. So that's the first primary pillar, one can say. The second primary pillar is that there has to be a inclination from the management of these tool rooms to participate and to invest wherever resources are required.
Okay.
So when you say resources, it could be best of machine tools, it could be best of people, it could be it could be certain fine tuning aspects. So that inclination is very, very important. And the
Right.
third thing which is very important is that the scalability should be always be on their horizon. So these are the
Right.
three primary pillars of what one can consider as necessary topics, necessary
Right.
aspects any tool room or any tool manufacturer would possess. And then basis of this, there are multiple points on which we would recommend a tool manufacturer for a particular program. But
Right.
we have, converged our fraternity to a very select 7 or 8 tool manufacturers. Now, there are two
Okay.
advantages of doing this. One advantage is that they have a surety of business going ahead with us. And
Right.
so that, if they want to invest, if they want to expand their capacities, they already know that, where the business is going to come from. So that's first, advantage. Second advantage is that whatever guidelines we've set in terms of our end-to-end manufacturing,
Right.
those need not be repeated with every set of programs that we will run. And the
Okay.
third topic that we've done is that, as I explained earlier, there are various part families. So these part family and this tool maker, that marriage we've established. So somebody becomes an expert in a particular type of part manufacturing or tool manufacturing. So then the iterations and the effort that we need to spend with them, greatly reduces. So this is
Okay.
how we have selected a few of them, rallied along with them, handheld them in various aspects, and then now they are, very capable and very agile in order to stretch the timelines and, uh, get the tool out as fast as possible.
Right. So since you have set tool maker, set standard processes also set, do you still face any kind of challenges in terms of the QCD that you spoke, quality, cost, and delivery? And then some companies also complain sometime about the communication, not having a proper communication. So do you still feel any kind of challenges while sourcing tools in India, or some area of improvements?
See, the area of improvement will always remain.
Yeah.
The list of expectations are never going to go down. So one of the things that I have always spoken with my set of toolmakers is that, now we were earlier benchmarking, against a different parameter, where, constructions and fine tuning and, those things were very important, till we have reached a particular level of maturity.
Right.
Now one needs to benchmark ourselves against, best of the tool manufacturers, say from Canada. Windsor is a very big tool making
Right.
area in, so they support entire American region automotive manufacturers.
Right.
So that is one area. Second area is, say a country like Portugal. They are,
Okay.
a very good, Germany, for example. So these are certain areas where, if you talk to the component manufacturers, they will always say that, there's something special about that tool. Okay,
Right.
so if say for example, Volkswagen has imported tools from Germany and they've, asked a component manufacturer to manufacture in India, so they will always say that, there's something special about this tool. Now
Okay.
it is our job to decipher what that special is. So there is no setting time which is required. The first shot from the tool end, it is okay. Then
Right.
it is so consistent that there is absolutely zero process rejection. So these
Right.
are certain aspects where now we need to, graduate ourselves to that level, so that, our quality of tools that we manufacture should be, acceptable all across the globe.
Right. Right. Uh, Thanks for that. Now, talking about another biggest trend that is, shaping the overall two-wheeler industry is EV. So
Yeah.
emergence of EV we have seen is more in a two-wheeler segment compared to the four-wheelers. So when two-wheelers EV becomes mainstream in two-wheeler, when there will be a lot of volumes in EV as well. What kind of opportunities it will bring to the tool makers, and how they should be prepared to cater to such kind of demands, because there will be many parts that will go away, but that there will be many parts that will also be introduced. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'll just, kind of bifurcate this topic into two. One is what is, EV specific, and then we can talk about generalized other areas of
Right.
EV. What is the difference between an EV and, an ICE vehicle
Yeah.
is the engine, and the one which will have a battery pack. So the battery pack is a very large and a very complex component, where multiple cells have to, get located, and there are a lot of critical dimensions, and there are a lot of critical, areas which will enable that, the part to be used in a specific way. And so that is an area where, there is a lot of scope which is there for our tool manufacturers to, actually decipher what are the, very critical aspects of that, so that most of these tools then can be localized. Till now also there are a lot of tools which are, being imported in this area.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm very happy that, while we would have uh, struggled in the first few years, but now all our tool, battery pack tools are also being manufactured locally and to the best possible extent in the efficiency.
Nice.
So, that is an area where there has to be a lot of cross-industry learning, and so that, everybody can come up to a level where they can start manufacturing parts for the battery pack. That's one aspect of EV manufacturing or the EV growth story. And the second aspect of the EV story, as I told you earlier also, was, you know, there'll be multiple models coming every 3-4 months. There'll be a lot of changes which will
Right.
happen. There'll be a lot of, advances in, for example, the speedometer is no longer a conventional speedometer. Today it is a TFT. It's like a mobile phone. It's like a, any digital device that is found being used for a personal level. So the tools which can manufacture those, and those can be localized. That is one great aspect which one has to look at from localization benefit point of view, as well as from the capability of the. So that's an area where people have to really work upon very strongly. And the third is the shortest possible time to make the part is sacrosanct, whether it's an ICE or it's an EV. That
Right.
needs to be very sufficiently driven.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So, in India, when the BS6 safety norm was introduced, there was surge of demand for the tool makers. And then there has been more such campaigns which resulted in a good business for tool makers. Do you think there can be more such programs or more such schemes that may come in future and which will result in business for the tool makers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. See, BS6 was a major shift from what was there in the BS6,
Yeah.
BS4.
Right.
So there are a lot of things needed to be put in place for the emissions. Now,
Right.
while what happens is, as a company, when you address an emission norm, so that there has to be a differentiator between what you are doing as a norm adherence compliance, and if you are giving a new product, then might as well have all the latest norms which are in place. So
Right.
now that actually everybody wanted to have a product with a new feature and a new compliance requirement. So that is
Right.
what kind of catapulted the requirement at that point in time. And now every 2-3 years you will find this happening. Like for example, the BS6 happened in 2020.
Right.
Then last year or year and a half, because before we had OBD
Right.
coming in, onboard diagnostics. Then the onboard diagnostics itself was bifurcated into two different buckets. So one is called it 2A and 2B. So that 2B shift is happening now. So every 2 years you will find that the requirements in terms of the compliance are improving, and the similar story is happening in the passenger car unit, as well as if you look at the heavy industry, the trucks and those areas, though they are also undergoing a lot of transition. So for example, there are a lot of regulations which are coming in for cabin safety, and there are a lot of regulations which are coming in for driver safety. For example, in the EV, there have been multiple incidences in the past where the vehicle has caught fire. So there are a lot of regulations which are also coming in place in all of these, and this is going to continue. So we'll have Euro 5, Euro 6 norms coming in, which will again put a lot of pressure on compliance with these new norms. And so every two years you'll see that there's a new sect of
You
norm
know.
coming in, and you have to rally up to those, be it on a component level, be it on a product level, be it on the entire ecosystem level. You have to rise up to that occasion.
Got it. Got it. It's a good for industry as well.
Absolutely.
So, sir, do you have captive tool rooms in Bajaj? You have your own tool room?
We do have our own tool room.
Mhm.
So we manufacture some tools for sheet metal parts, and certain first set of tools for our casting parts.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So,
but the
going
operations are,
forward, yeah, yeah, sorry.
yeah. So I was just mentioning that these are the only two aspects that we have. Rest of the tools, we anyway make outside, like plastic molds or molds for elastomer parts, lighting tools, all of these are made outside. And here also, other than crankcases and certain critical petrol tank tools, a lot of tools are still offloaded. So we do, maybe 5%, 7% is what we do. The rest
Okay.
is outside.
But do you think in future tier ones and OEMs will backward integrate and enhance their captive tool room capacity, or they will prompt the existing tool makers to enhance their capacity? So according to you, what could be the way forward in future?
See, backward integration is a very far-fetched thought, because the core competence or the mainstay of these companies is to design and to assemble and marketing. These are the mainstays of uh, any OE, be
Right.
it us or anybody else. So
Hmm.
the trend of offloading, which started 10, 15 years back, that's going to continue. In fact, there will be more aggregates which will come inside these
Okay.
OEs. So it will no longer remain only to a component level manufacturing. It will be a lot of aggregation. So sub-assembly level parts will come into OEs. So and that same trend is going to continue. The ownership of these aggregates will also be the tier one's responsibility. Then the
Right.
tier ones will have their own ecosystem in terms of their sub vendors and tier twos and tier threes tool manufacturers. So I don't see any trend which then starts calling in the backward integration journey at all.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what may happen in the future is that there will be a lot of hubs which will get created from where the main assembly lines will be fed.
Right. Okay.
So that is what the trend would look like.
Okay. Nice. Just one or two more questions from my side. And before that, I would like to request to all the attendees that if you have any questions, please start posting those. It's just after 5 minutes, Mr. Santosh can address those questions one by one.
Sure.
Uh, Last question from my side. Since you have been working with tool making industry for a really long time, you have sourcing, you have been involved with a lot of tool makers as well. What are your suggestions to Indian tool makers? If you have to list those 4 or 5, things that they need to work on in order to become more competitive, in order to export tools or become at par with the global players, what would those 4 or 5 things would be?
The first and the foremost, as I told you, the we have reached a certain level of maturity in terms of our overall industry. I won't say
Right.
the entire industry, but overall as an industry, we've reached certain level of maturity. Now
Nice.
there has to be another quantum jump that needs to happen, which will come through benchmarking. Say for example, if you look at Taiwan, if you
Mhm.
look at as I told you, Windsor, Portugal, some of the Chinese zones where you'll find every OE sitting there for getting their bumper tools done, or things like that. So that is one area that I feel is one big area where a lot of benchmarking activity to happen, and to get that kind of an expertise. And this is area where while the OEs can participate, but there is a lot of impetus which is going to be required from the
The
tool
tool maker.
manufacturers.
Right.
Then the second top thing for me would be uh, today when I look at all the tool rooms or whatever tool rooms that I have had the opportunity to work, uh, sadly to say, but there's a serious lack of discipline in terms of uh, production space. So
Okay.
what do I mean by that? The best possible timeline will come only with highest amount of efficiency in terms of planning and in terms of execution. And that is one area which I see there is a lot of scope for improvement across wherever I've seen. Now that helps in two ways. One way that it helps is to you are sitting on an idle capacity, or because you are inefficient, your capacity kind of shrinks down. So what
Right.
if I am able to do 100 moles with a more efficient way of management, you can maybe do 110 tools or 115 tools. So this not only increases your capacity, but it will also bring down the investments that one has to do. So that's the second top driver that you were asked me to mention. The third top driver that I have always kind of help them to understand is, if you look at any Chinese or any Taiwanese areas, they will never regret a tool because of lack of capacity. Never
Okay.
ever you will find that they have, they will, in turn divide the work. And somebody is doing only machining, somebody is doing only, a lot of EDM.
EDM,
But
yeah.
the front face will never say no to a tool in spite of him being completely overbooked. So he will get it executed somewhere else, and then it will be still his. So that is one area where everybody has to come together, rather than looking at each other as competition. They need to come together to what can be only one bucket of capacity. It could be harmonized across the entire region, region specific
Right.
capacities. So that is the third aspect which you would ask me to mention. And the fourth aspect will be uh, uh, to 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 be most cost competitive. I will not say that I want to buy cheap tools, but at the same time, I will want to be very cost competitive because my hunger for tools is very high. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the four top things, which come to my mind where there has to be a lot of work which has to happen in these areas.
Right. Right. Uh, uh, so you are saying cluster and collaborative work is still missing in India.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cluster approach. Okay. Okay. And what are your opinion on the skill set? Skilled manpower in India. Do you find that the engineers working in tool making industry are skilled enough?
See, there'll always be a pressure on upskilling.
Right.
So while what was competitive or what was good enough 2 years back, today it is no longer good enough.
Right.
So there has to be a participation. Uh, so skill is something which will never remain stationary. The skill will
Okay.
always keep on evolving over years. For example, if you look at polishing as an aspect in tool manufacturing. So,
Right.
one can judge for themselves, the tool makers who are there participating in today's tool talk,
Mm.
how many of them actually have the capability to polish a tool up to 3 micron level.
Okay.
That is something which everybody individually has to benchmark self. So, these are some skills where we still have a long journey to go, and that is where the upskilling is going to come into picture. So a collaborative work along with, institutions like NTT, GTTC, for example, so
Right.
all these participations are extremely important. And there always be a brain drain happening to, developed countries. A lot of people, if you see, moving to Malaysia and to Singapore, where there's a lot of tool design activity which happens. So you
Right.
tend to lose a lot of these good skilled people, and hence there will always be a vacuum uh, for the skill to be at par with the global standards.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for taking those questions and sharing your insights with us. We'll just take a 30-second. We'll just watch a video and then we'll come back to you for with the questions from the audience. In the meantime,
Sure,
I'll just compile those questions. Yeah.
sure.
All right, Mr. Santosh. So I've seen five, six questions are there. First question is from Mr. Gopala Krishnan of Multiple Specialist Steel. He has asked two questions, one on EV, which you have partially answered. So I'll just go to the second question that he has asked. Is saying, taking a few words from your talk just now, like faster turnover time, faster cycle time, faster tool manufacturing time, more economic, etc. Have you considered any other mold material other than tool steel? If there is any alternative material, would you be interested to try it?
Oh yeah, this is a specific question, so there's a specific answer. Yes, I mean, steel is a very critical aspect of tool manufacturing. As I was mentioning that every type of plastic raw material. I'll talk about that domain first, but it comes to similar analogy you'll have to across all different materials. So there the steel selection is based on what kind of part material that we are using. So yes, we do have various selection criteria for various types of tools. And just to answer that very quickly, yes, I had in one of your, in fact, ITS, I had seen somebody talking about aluminium as a replacement for certain tool steels, and a pretty decent tool life also for that. Yes, then definitely we'll be interested in looking at those aspects as well.
So I think another question is also related to the same, I guess, from Mr. Sri Raj. Sir, according to you, what will be the impact high strength aluminum can make in injection molding tools because of its high machinability rate and very high conductivity?
Absolutely, that exactly what I was mentioning. That was something which I have, while it was being used in certain low production tools and all, but it has to come to the mainstay. And I was very happy to see that, the kind of uh, the presentation which was done on that. So definitely, there'll be a lot of traction going ahead for that kind of materials. So it is a very important topic. And in fact, even additive manufacturing at one point in time was considered as a breakthrough for
Yeah.
certain tool manufacturing. But I was we did a lot of work since 2016 in additive manufacturing, but there are limitations. So but
Yeah.
unless you experiment, you conduct certain trials, that level of the limitations will not be very easily evident.
Right.
So while there will be a limited focus on the maraging steels and the additive manufacturing, now the focus should actually come to the the high quality aluminum material that is being spoken about. So yes, we will definitely participate in such activities, and we'll take it to the logical conclusion.
Nice. Next question is from Mr. RT Kulkarni. He asked, any new technologies have come in die manufacturing dies?
So it's a very broad
Yeah.
question. So very difficult to answer, very broad. But yes, I mean, as I was, when you look at die manufacturing, it is, eventually look at, the die design. Now, within die design, simulation has become a very, very important topic. While, the simulation has been there for last many years, but the effective use of simulation for the apt requirement of defect prevention is still, something which needs to be worked upon. So that is one area, that new technology has come in. Second, when we look at the journey that we have all had, I mean, we started with pattern manufacturing, and then the tool manufacturing based on that pattern. Eventually,
Right.
then CNC came into the picture. There was a lot of progression which happened. Now, if you see that journey itself, so what we started with, say, 3,000 or 5,000 RPM is reached, 20,000 or 25,000 or 30,000 RPM manufacturing CNC machines.
Right.
Similarly, if you look at, what was requiring 5 setups, now that
Mhm.
5 setups has come down to one setup when you have a 5-axis machining center, then, this is a very important aspect of what new technology is brought to the table. So all this is very important. So lighting tools, if you look at some of the lighting tool manufacturers in India, they are using extremely high speed machines, 30,000, 35,000 RPM machines. So that is really help for them to eliminate a lot of processes. So that is new technology which is helped. The next aspect of new technology, if you see for yourself, is the 3D additive manufacturing.
Right.
While there are limitations, but there are certain areas where this technology has a very, very impounding effect. Small, difficult to reach areas for cooling has really helped, ease out the situation only because of these 3D additive manufacturing.
Right.
So, there are multiple technologies like this we can, keep on mentioning. And, something like, a collapsible core, which was, unheard of in last few years ago. So those things have come to mainstream now. So that is where the technology palette has moved in last 10 to 15 years. And what we have today. In one time, I remember in manufacturing, gouging was a very, very big risk for the tools. So now, we don't have those kind of things just because there's an app technology to address these things. Similarly, in terms of polishing, ultrasonic polishing, or areas where faster turnaround is there in polishing. So these are all new technologies which have helped us to shorten, improve, increase capacities. All of this is the enabling technologies for us.
Okay. Just one or two more questions from my side. Uh, from Udaya Shetty, how AI is aiding in transforming Indian two-wheeler industry?
Uh, Again, it was a very broad question, but I'll try to answer it to the best possible extent. See, data sciences has played a very important role. It this the extension of data sciences is what we see in what we call as AI today. And what it brings on the table is a better judgment and a better uh, you know decision making process. Now that decision making process could be tool cost finalization, it could be anything, or something which is related to inspection. For example, if you look at, say, washer, you need 10 million washers a month. There's no
Right.
way you can do it manually.
Right.
So
Right.
there comes the topic of machine learning, artificial intelligence, which will play a very important role in order to shape our you know uh, future, for sure.
Okay. Right. So we have from Mr. George. Hello, Mr. Santosh. Do you have requirements for 2K or 3K mold? Do you design and develop 2K, 3K parts? Overseas tool manufacturers use a lot of such parts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2K was a technology which was there for, it's like a sitting duck, but nobody ventured into that area. I'm talking about the 2010s. So we had an application where it was for a speedometer cover, and it had to be in a specific transparent transparent nylon, and a very soft touch material. So there was no other way to manufacture that but to go for a 2K mold. And that tool also, let me tell you, we manufactured in India. We partnered with one of our local tool manufacturers here, and we effectively could implement that. And since then, 2K or 3K has been there to stay, because all these LED headlamps and multicolored tail lamps and all, there you have to go for 2K or 3K. And then we've also tried to integrate a lot of these mud flaps and mounting bracketry. So that has helped us to get 2K and 3K in the mainstream, and kind of becoming more and more popular in our design process.
Okay, just last question from Mr. Puneet Narang. How can OEMs like Bajaj and Maruti and other biggies support Indian tool makers in developing an infrastructure?
the
Yes.
biggies, I don't want to comment on the word biggies, but see, we are a very responsible auto company in India. And even the other name that you took is surely a very responsible automotive company. And one of the common points is that we have all, uh, both these companies have worked on this cluster approach. So when we talk about infrastructure, one of the very critical aspects of infrastructure is the capability. And that capability is where we participate with all our vendors, tool manufacturing vendors, as well as component manufacturing vendors, to improve their capability. So in today's world, what is required is agility and capability. So these are the two areas where we participate with every single component supplier of ours, every single tool manufacturer of ours, to help them to reach to a different level. So that is where I would see as participation in infrastructure.
Right, right. Okay, so there are a few questions that you have already
Thank you, sir.
addressed during our conversation, so I'll skip that. There's one question from Mr. Samir. He asked, do you think a design service provider like us can help any OEM in cutting the time short while OEM give projects to tier one companies for manufacturing? Only if I may ask, if yes, is Bajaj working with any such design provider? If no, why not? How can we join in the process flow?
Sure. I mean, I'll take this question into two separate buckets. One is, service providing in terms of design services for tool manufacturing, services for providing mold flow simulation. These two topics we have established, and we work with industry players in this. And we've, in fact, not only have approved two or three, because we is finally, what we want, the way we want. They need to understand and then, deliver accordingly. So we have participated. We've outreach to, in fact, even to Autodesk to, to certify whether they are using certified versions of softwares, so that, we are very responsibly approving somebody. And then they have been with us for last at least 8 to 10 years, if I may say it that way. So the answer to that question is yes. Then second, design services in when it comes to kinematics, or when it comes to component level design, we do have our tier ones who are capable of driving these kind of design requirements, and they in turn also have their design studios, or they have their own design service providers who have been working with them to requirement satisfaction level. So
Okay.
the basic answer to your question is yes, and we have definitely participated in that area.
Last question, sir, from Mr. Gajanan. Is there any shift towards biomaterial in two-wheeler industry?
So biomaterials, yes, definitely. There is a lot of regulatory work which is happening in that area, and when it comes to fuels itself, we do work on biofuels. Then extending that to other areas. Green energy is what we definitely work upon, and most of our people do have their own participation in that area. So they have their own captive generation capability, and we do participate in that area. And the third area is when it comes to materials. We have started certain programs in which we would come up with some materials where ocean waste, or those areas will be got into the applications.
Right. That's all. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Santosh. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, and I'm sure the tool makers have learned a lot through your wisdom, where you shared about your journey of making zero import. I'm sure it is a great sign for Indian tooling community, Indian tooling industry. Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much to all the audience also. Thank you so much for joining in today. I would like to also thank SNT Machinery Private Limited for sponsoring this tool talk. They are one of the largest and known CNC machining companies. Please check their website stmcnc.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll come back with another tool talk next month, last Friday. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
It was pleasure to participate in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.